With all my pleasure, and dear friends, excellencies, dear guests, so I'm delighted to be here and to address this distinguished audience. And, I wanted to thank my Prime Minister, first of all, but let me start by thanking the Open Ukraine team for their very strong efforts to organize this brilliant forum. So I know that you are tired, that's why I will try to be very brief on the matter which is of vital importance for Ukraine. And that was the reason why it was so interesting to listen to the previous discussion. And I was actually astonished to hear that Russia becomes smaller. Never heard about that. I believe that Ukraine became smaller for some time. So let me start my very brief introduction by an example that may be of interest for you. So, in his second, as they say, historic speech to the House of Commons, Sir Winston Churchill had to describe a disaster, a possible potential invasion against Britain. He was eloquent and impressive. Those who listened said that his words were worth 1,000 guns and speeches of 1,000 years. However, neither figures of cost and losses that he described, nor grim perspective or a potential offensive made his delivery an emotional outburst. No. There was another reason why his statement and speech was so brilliant. The reason was that he showed and demonstrated a strong political will, commitment, and without no doubt on eventual victory. We will fight and we will never surrender, he said. There is a huge gap between what Sir Winston Churchill said and Mr. Charlie said just a few moments ago. And that gap is called a confidence. By no means that I mean that confidence should be based on some, I would say, illusions or wishful thinking. Not at all. To put it even stronger, this confidence must not be built on a strategic compromise that may give a false sense of political or security equilibrium if the aggressor is appeased. And by this, even unintentionally recognizing the so-called legitimacy of its aspirations. I mean a confidence which is based on a strong commitment to values and a confidence which is based on a ratio, how to use the most efficient tools to ensure common security based on those values. So that's absolutely clear that Russia continues the offensive, as it was said and stated by, including those words that were said today by Foreign Minister Steinmeier here. Let me say that there are 40,000 strong troops on our territory, constant violations of the Minsk agreements, heavy weaponry. All this picture says that Putin has changed his tactics for a moment, but the strategy remains unchanged. Putin is not afraid of using a variety of tools, including military force. And this has given him a first mover advantage, and he has used it very skillfully, setting a doubt, undermining a confidence, creating an illusion that there are two alternative ways, two truths. His strength is directly correlated with the weakness of the Western powers. Ukraine's economic collapse is even more desirable for Putin than a military victory. he can't disclaim responsibility. The economic and social turmoil destroys all Ukraine. A military victory will bring him control over a part of it, with further burden that Russia cannot afford.
Okay, so Danylo,